Hey, TCC and 49ers faithful, are you coming to the draft party? Because we have been hearing from so many that they are. You're not going to want to miss the opportunity.
The outpouring is huge. Everyone is going to be there. We hope you are too.
Yeah, make sure you join us on April 29th from 4 to 8 at Back Alley Brewery in Galt. It's going to be so much fun. You're not going to want to miss it.
Not at all.
Hey, TCC.
From the alley-oops at Keysar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Time to talk running backs in the draft. There's a lot of good ones. Where will the 49ers actually target a running back could be the bigger question, but no matter where it is, there's a running back willing, able, and ready to play for Kyle Shanahan because they know they could potentially have an Elijah Mitchell type season.
I mean, yeah, if you're a rookie running back come out in this draft, right? You're sitting here going, 5th round guy, Elijah Mitchell, didn't play big time college football, like, please. And by big time college football, I don't mean like not Division I. It was Division I football. I'm just saying it wasn't one of the Big 5 power conferences. So if you're a Big 5 power running back, you got to be sitting there going, can I fall into the 3rd, 4th round where the San Francisco 49ers are most likely going to be taking a running back? Because I don't see any world in which it's a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah, and Louis already came through with Cook. So we know he's talking about James Cook, Dalvin's brother over there in Georgia. I'm sure he will be somebody that we talk about.
There's a chance.
Yeah.
There's a possibility, Ant, that's probably going to most likely be happening and us discussing it. But look, Cutback Crew, hit the like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't already because we are going to go through these running backs. We are going to take a look at what guys make the most sense for the San Francisco 49ers. Also, you want to hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss tomorrow night, in which we are having 49ers War Room on the channel right here, 5 p.m. Pacific time, with John Chapman and Jason Aponte on. It's going to be a lot of fun, and who knows, maybe one of these specific running backs, one of us will be standing on the table for, demanding that one of them draft him.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Well, we'll see what happens. If that's 61, 93, 105, where is that point where a running back actually makes sense? Balmer says in the chat, it's later rounds. And potentially there could be some later round running backs, some gems that the 49ers go ahead and target. And so that could be some of the conversation tomorrow. I'm excited about the War Room episode. We're going to get after it. And we're gonna be discussing these draft picks, and we're going to be seeing what everyone's thinking. But yeah, Chapman and Aponte will bring their flavor to it. We'll bring our flavor. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a blast, and I'm looking forward to it. But let's get into it.
And what's up, Donald?
Donald, how you doing, man? And TCC, how you doing? Hopefully well, Ant. Hopefully they're doing well. Let's start this thing off, though. We cannot be looking at this situation and talking about running backs and talking about all of them. Like we can't talk about all of them. You can't talk about all the top name guys, the big, top end guys at the top of that list. Breece Hall is a guy that a lot of people want to discuss and very talented individual there. I've seen a lot of people talking about Isaiah Spiller as well. Do you think there's a chance that a guy like Isaiah Spiller could fall? Because I don't think there's any chance Breece Hall is making it out of the top 30. Or top 40.
Yeah, because me and you are a little bit different. You think he could go in the first round. I don't think Breece Hall goes in the first round.
Fair.
I don't think any running back goes in the first round. But you're right. Breece Hall, Isaiah Spiller are kind of right there in the second round. And I figure both of them are gone in the top 50. So because both of them are gone in the top 50, I mean, yeah, Spiller's a star player. Breece Hall's a star player for me. These are running backs that would fit nice in the San Francisco 49ers scheme, but you're not going to take a running back at, probably at 61. So it's going to be a little bit further down the line as we talk about guys who actually fit the 49ers scheme and also our potential landing, spots, because I don't think they're going to go running back at 61. So we're talking about running back at 93, 105, potentially 134. That's when it gets realistic, especially because, James Cook, somebody like that, will be available at, 105.
Very true. And KNDR, my goodness gracious almighty, the Patreon subscription there from Mr. KNDR and back up in full force. Really appreciate that, my guy. I really appreciate that there.
Yeah.
Look, I love Isaiah Spiller. I like a lot of the things that gentleman does and what he could bring to the table. This was a guy who I had starred and put a lot of things on. I feel like he's a one cut and go type of guy. The vision is off the chart. The big question was just going to be the speed with him. But I don't see a guy like that kind of falling past the second.
Yeah, I mean, when it came to Spiller, I mean, 6'1", 225 out of Texas A&M, good in the open field, good receiver. He's elusive. He has good vision, great forward lean, a lot of power. My only question was top end speed when it came to him, but he was somebody that was really fun. I liked his size and speed. I actually wrote down better Sermon. So I thought he could have been easily a better better player than Trey Sermon, and that's where he's going to get value. Trey Sermon, a 3rd round pick. And I do believe that Isaiah Spiller will be a 2nd-round pick. I think he's a little bit of a better player. Both players are nice, but Spiller's better.
I like that there, and I agree with you there. I just saw someone bring up Kenneth Walker. I said JLH, Kenneth Walker, another guy who's at the top end of the board there for running backs. Probably not going to be going with the San Francisco 49ers are going to be selecting. So, Ant, let's move on. Let's get away from guys like Kenneth Walker, who is one of my favorite running backs of this entire draft.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the point of talking about? He's not fallen to 61. And if he would somehow magically fell to 61, I would have a really hard time not wanting to take a Kenneth Walker. But
really? I mean, what if you had an edge rusher that you liked, a cornerback that you liked, and then a running back that you liked?
The only way I could see a guy like him falling that far is if there was a fat run on edge rushers and the guy that I wanted wasn't there. Right?
Yeah,
a guy like Boy Mafi wasn't there.
Right.
A guy like Ajabo wasn't there at 61. If a guy like that isn't there at 61 at the edge rushing position or one of the other positions, let's say Petrie's gone as well. He went early, and no one wanted to touch running backs, and that was best available player, and it was Kenneth Walker. Then it's going to be hard for me to pass.
Okay, I was just wondering what your pecking order was as far as position.
He does not go up above an edge rusher. He does not go up above a top end corner that I like, and a couple of the other positions, whether that be wide receiver if the right guy is there, or interior O-line, but we'll see.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering. I was wondering where it was on the pecking order. If it's obviously as low as 5, maybe lower.
It's as low as 5, maybe lower.
Like, would you take a Jalen Petrie over a running back?
Right now, at this moment, yes.
Okay, so it was 6. It's slowly going down. So
correct.
Okay,
but it has to be, like I said, a run. We're on ridiculous run.
We're on the same page then.
Okay, so who do you want to start with at the running back position? Because I'm seeing here on Pro Football Network, the next guy after Isaiah Spiller is Rashad White at Arizona State.
Okay, you
want to start there?
I like Rashad White. He's a good player.
Let's start with Rashad White. Go ahead and hit it off here for everybody. Let everyone know what they need to be knowing and what you like and don't like about the running back out of Arizona State.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go. I don't have my note right in front of me, but I'm gonna go with this. Rashad White, I liked his ability. He has some elusiveness. He's pretty good in the open field. He's elusive. I liked his film overall. I think that there are some questions about top end speed. There's some questions sometimes about vision, but I do like him. I think he would fit in nice in San Francisco's scheme. So yeah, he was somebody I'd be interested in, but I wouldn't be interested in drafting him. And this is I'm going to put this across the board for running backs. I'm not wanting to draft a running back until 105 or later. So I won't take him at 93. So if he was off the board, or he was there at 93, I would want to wait till 105. So that's just my personal thoughts. So if he's going anywhere before 105, I'm not drafting him.
That's fair. I've seen a lot of different places and actually put this guy with a 4th round grade, a 3rd round grade in some cases. I really like that spot for him there. This guy ran a 4.48 at his pro day and at the combine. So this is a guy who's got some speed. It's there. He's definitely got some good feet. I like his straight line speed as well, and he's very explosive on film there in those regards. I did see some good things out of him in the screen game as well. Catching the ball, moving in space. He's got a really good catch radius, so there's not a lot of times where a ball gets put in a spot where he can't get to it.
Right.
So I do like that, and what have we seen a lot of Kyle Shanahan the last couple of seasons especially? Screen game becoming extremely important, Ant, for the San Francisco 49ers. A guy like Rashad White fits the bill there. Anything, though, before about the 3rd round with this guy, 3rd, 4th round, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to be going after and making that. You got pick 61 there in a second. It wouldn't make sense if he's going that early. You have pick number 93, not too long, down in the 3rd round, where you're starting to get towards that back end of the 3rd. It starts to make more sense there. I think the best value for him, though, for the 49ers, if you're looking at this, is the 4th, because he has some elite traits, but he's not a complete back right now.
Yeah, I do like his pass catching. You know, I mean, that was one of the things I finally found my notes.
Thank God.
Pass catching was one of the things I really liked, and how smooth he was. Just felt like he was really smooth, and Power Fitness is giving a nice breakdown of White as well. So there are really good things to like about him, but I agree with you. I'm not going for a running back before 105, so third, fourth round pick, 105, 134. Especially if there's certain players that I think I would target there. White would be in consideration for sure. And I think he would fit. And Herm Edwards would also be able to give John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan the insight on this guy.
True.
But he's somebody that I think is slowly trickling up board. So we'll see if he's still going to be available in the round 3, round 4 area.
That's going to be a big question. It's going to be a huge question if that's going to be the case, if he's going to be available in those spots. It really is. Up next, we got a couple of guys here. Tyler Allgeier from BYU and Jerome Ford out of Cincinnati. Allgeier doesn't really feel like a typical 49ers running back and what they're looking for. A little bit bigger bodied guy. I question the speed with him. The physicality is there, but I don't see the explosiveness from him as a running back in terms of jump cuts and things of that nature.
Yeah, when I watched him, the first thing I thought was, we have one of those. It's called Trey Sermon, and
Correct.
Trey Sermon's a better version of him. So that was the first thing I looked at and thought, well, we wouldn't draft him because we have Trey Sermon. So it didn't make sense as far as that. I did watch some of the film just to see how he was. He's a very balanced runner. He ran with great strength. I liked him. He never got too far over his body. So he was really good runner, but I don't think he's going to be somebody the 49ers target. And mainly for the reason I said first was that we already have Trey Sermon. So he would be filling a similar role, and we don't need him to fill that role.
No, not at all. Not at all. Mr. Ford out of Cincinnati is an interesting one. How do you feel about him? Have you done any research on Mr. Ford? Have you looked at all?
I watched him a little bit. I didn't do a full breakdown of him. I just watched some of his game film because I watched a lot of other players from Cincinnati as well. I thought he was good. He was somebody solid, somebody that I felt like you could target possibly in the 4th round, 134, maybe even farther as you get into the 170s in that 5th round spot. That would be the ideal spot for him. He does fit the scheme and what you want to do. You just wonder, once again, if this is a guy that can unseat the guys you already have with Elijah Mitchell. I think when you were talking about running backs in the 49ers room, you need to find somebody that does something different or does something better. And right now, we know they got 4 guys strong. That's why Rashad White would make sense if you're going to go with him and make him a 3rd down back initially. He could take over for JaMychal Hasty. That's something I could see Ford doing as well, potentially. But I don't think Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr., or Trey Sermon are in trouble of any of these running backs that we've talked about so far taking any of their snaps away.
Correct. And look, he doesn't have the explosive breakaway speed, a 4.46 kind of guy. But his best asset and strength is outside zone running and outside the tackles. Something the Niners have done at times, but not consistently recently. They've mixed it up a lot. His strength is not necessarily running up on the interior and inside in those areas. So later in that draft, I think 4th, 5th round is probably a better fit for what he could do. And he does have some good lateral quickness. There's a lot of positive things there. But like you said, right? The positive things are nice. Is he going to take over a spot in that running back room? I'm not necessarily convinced about it with a guy like this, but you know what? There is a gentleman out of Alabama that for some reason is falling down boards, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why. Brian Robinson Jr., when you and I originally talked about running backs, we went through a bunch, and I gave you some guys that I like, and you said you didn't. What about Brian Robinson? I was like, dude, there's no way Brian Robinson is going to be available even at 61. Like, why would I even waste my time? And you said, no. You need to look at mock drafts again. You need to look where people are valuing him because it is not where you think. Because I have a 1st round grade on him. I think this might be the best running back in the draft, and it might not be close. And he's like ranked at the 119 spot. It feels like the Niners could get him with a 3rd round compensatory pick potentially.
Oh, they could get him with a 3rd round compensatory pick, potentially even their 4th round pick. I think Brian Robinson's a good running back. 6'1", 226 pounds from Alabama. These are the things I liked about him. He had a nice forward lean. He was straight ahead runner. He had good moves. He was powerful. He had good balance, and he was a good receiver. Those were the things. My question mark for him was speed, and that's top-end speed, not so much acceleration through the hole. So those were the things I really liked about him. He's a star player for me, somebody that I gave a star to that I felt was a very good running back in this draft class. I would definitely draft him if we got into the 4th round. Potentially, I would take a look at him at the compensatory pick. I think that he would be a guy that is in the, that could take that Jeff Wilson Jr. role eventually. So you could roll with him and Elijah Mitchell down the road. I think he can continue to develop his game. He did not have a lot of carries at Alabama over the beginning part of his career. So I think that he's somebody that's still got a lot of tread on the tires. So yeah, I'd be interested in bringing him in, and I like him. I like his running style and how it fits Kyle Shanahan's system.
I agree with you on that, man. Vision and the jump cut he has are absolutely nasty. I love the way he runs in space, and his pass pro also. This is a guy on third downs that, yeah, you can go out and put him in pass situations, but if you want to keep him in as an extra blocker, I saw a lot of good stuff, especially this last year at Alabama with him in pass pro sets. This is a guy who feels like he's a 3-down back sort of already, and guess what? You don't need a 3-down back in San Francisco. You just need a guy who can rotate in and do different things. He can do that immediately, and you're not going to have to necessarily overpay for a guy who's a polished, complete back at this moment. You're not going to have to go get this guy in the second. You may not have to get this guy in the third. You may be able to wait until the fourth or trade up in the fourth. Use some capital later to trade up to get him in a spot where you really, really like him. The 4.55 speed too, Ant. People say not a burner. That's fine. You don't have to necessarily be a burner. Deebo Samuel's not a burner, and Deebo ran about a 4.5. I mean, Deebo was in that area as well.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a difference though between Deebo Samuel's explosiveness and Brian Robinson's.
Correct.
Because when it comes down to it, Deebo Samuel looks like he shot out of a cannon when he goes to get the football. He looks more of explosive than Elijah Mitchell. He looks on the Raheem Mostert explosion level when he gets the football in his hands out of the running back position. That's hard to duplicate. There's not very many guys that can fly right from the very first step. I think Robinson is more patient. He has, that ability about him, which I like. So, I mean, 4.55 is plenty fast enough to get it done in the NFL. He would fit what Kyle Shanahan, likes. But that's why I said I equate him to the Jeff Wilson Jr. role. I don't think he's going to be able to, consistently run on the outside. But I do like his big body and his physicality.
Love that about him. And TCC, let us know what you think about both of these gentlemen here. Brian Robinson and Rashad White. These are two names that you have to keep an eye on if you're the San Francisco 49ers, and the TCC. Keep an eye on as well. There's a poll up for you to vote on those two gentlemen also. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you like about Brian Robinson. Let us know what you like about Rashad White. And if you had to choose between one of them with where they could potentially go, which one makes more sense? Brian Robinson is one to me. I still, like to this day, to this moment, and can't wrap my head around why he's going to be going so late, but I'm all for it. I'm all for taking it. And speaking of another guy from the University of Georgia, Ant, that's going to go probably late as well, and someone the chat has already brought up, it's James Cooks. It's the brother of Dalvin Cook, Ant, and another Georgia running back who the San Francisco 49ers have apparently reached out and expressed some interest in, so you have to talk about him. We have to bring him up in this. 4.42 speed. I see a lot of similarities to Dalvin in some areas, and in other areas not so much. What do you like so much about James Cook, and do you think this could be an option for the 49ers? Well,
as somebody that watched a lot of Dalvin Cook, there is some differences between James Cook and Dalvin Cook, but the one thing that's not different is how smooth each one of them are. There's no wasted motion. There's just a lot of fluidity. Their body looks so athletic and smooth out there. James Cook is 5'10", 194 pounds from Georgia. Like you said, the 4.42 speed. It's very shifty and a great pass catcher. Not a good pass catcher, an absolutely great pass catcher. And my question mark before the combine, because I did these breakdowns before the combine,
correct,
was his speed. The 4.42, that checks the box. So I think this is a guy that can definitely fit what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. And I think he does become a possibility for a compensatory pick. In fact, if he was there at 105, I'm not thinking twice. I'm probably making this move because I think instantly he's a replacement for JaMycal Hasty, a better third down back potential. And then eventually he goes in the full rotation with Elijah Mitchell, and you have two backs that can do it, play in and play out as you continue to transition from back to back. And I think him, Trey Sermon, and Elijah Mitchell would actually give you the best three-man rotation you could get. Young cats who can get after it and do different things with the football in their hands. It would make sense, but we'll see if the 49ers are willing to pay that much, draft capital to get a running back. Third round again for a second straight year. I'm not sure they're willing to go ahead and do that, but it would be a dynamite pick because he's very good.
He would be a dynamite pick, and the thing that makes him stand out above the pack in this running back group is the pass catching. It's that aspect there. To talk about a guy who every time he goes out in space against a linebacker, this is an immediate mismatch. It is almost a no contest, especially at the college level. It was a no contest.
Yeah.
And you're right. It would be an upgrade throughout the rest of the room. This immediately makes JaMycal Hasty expendable. It makes it a vast improvement because you're going to get a guy who's a little bit more physical and big-bodied in space. He's shown the ability to beat guys to the edge as well at the college level and get around the outside. and has shown an ability to run inside as well. Not necessarily the greatest inside runner, Ant, but he does have vision. He does have the ability to get out in space, and he's got some very good lateral quickness as well. I like what he does there. His little sidestep, foot in the ground, one cut go move we've seen out of him is phenomenal as well. This is one too. It's a little interesting where some people have this guy placed, because I've seen as late as the 4th on him, and pre combine. I was seeing mock drafts that had him go in the 5th round, which was kind of crazy to me because I didn't think it was that far. And here's the other thing too, right? What do most people worry about with running backs coming into a draft? Miles. How many carries did you have in college? How much have you been running? This is a guy who doesn't have a lot of miles on the tires. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on his body. He was splitting time in that backfield with a lot of different guys. So that's not necessarily a bad thing for the 49ers. It's a positive. Probably more likely than not, because this is a guy who's going to be coming in fresh, and he'll be coming in sharing snaps again as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly why they're looking at him in the 3rd through 5th round range. Is because right now they don't deem him as an every single down back. He can't play all 3 downs. He's like we're talking about possibly a 3rd down back that could develop into a back that could play on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. So that's why he probably doesn't have the draft, height in his, where he's ranked, draft ranking, because of the fact that he's not a every down back right now. He could potentially get there. But right now, that's not what the 49ers need. They have Elijah Mitchell. They have Jeff Wilson Jr. They have Trey Sermon, hopefully going to develop. So this would be one where you improve the room, and you know that down the road, he's going to be a better version. Kyle Shanahan's been trying to find a 3rd down back for a long time. He went out and got Jerick McKinnon. He thought Jerick McKinnon was going to be the answer. He wasn't. He was using JaMycal Hasty. JaMycal Hasty didn't have that much of production over the last couple years. So they could definitely improve that area of the football team. And maybe this guy is the new version of Jet McKinnon. He is smooth like that. Definitely smooth like that. Doesn't have the top end speed like McKinnon had before the injury, but who knows?
Who knows indeed, Ant? Who knows indeed? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there and what goes on. And now we got an interesting guy, a gentleman out of Notre Dame, Kyren Williams, who has some things on film that look nice, some speed concerns after the combine, Ant, and a guy who was near the top of boards pre-combine and is now kind of slid into the middle of the pack in the running back room.
Yeah.
There are some positive things about Kyren's game. I think he's got some versatility. He's very physical, shifty at times, not consistently shifty though. The physical nature of his running is what I liked. On film, I didn't have any necessarily like speed concerns in terms of like breakaway speed. He wasn't a breakaway speed type guy. But what I didn't expect was what we saw at the combine with the number he posted being the slowest running back of the group. A little concerning there, and maybe teams are having some second thoughts on how he's going to translate to the NFL.
Yeah, it's not going to be the speed for me that gives me the second thoughts. The thing that gave me the pause for him was missing open holes. It was pretty consistent. I mean, yeah, he would bounce out and he would have a nice long run, but then you would look and be like, oh, he just missed a huge hole up the middle of the field where he was supposed to go, and he bounced it out. That's not something you want to have happen in the NFL, because with that slow speed, you're not going to be able to bounce it out in the NFL. They're going to track you down. You try to do that in practice against Azeez Al-Shire or Dre Greenlaw or Fred Warner, they're going to tackle you in the backfield for a loss. So you got to be able
bouncing outside on Nick Bosa.
Yeah. You got to be able to read the hole and get upfield like you're supposed to. That's one of the things that kept Trey Sermon off the field. He wasn't getting a one cut and go type running style that the 49ers want to run, and Bobby Turner's been working on them with. Elijah Mitchell picked it up. He was doing it very well. I don't know if Williams fits the scheme for the 49ers. I think he's a solid running back, but I think he does fit a different mold. So a different team should probably be the ones that draft him. I don't think he's a scheme fit, but I do think he's a good player.
He is a good player, but not a scheme fit. And you're right about the one thing in there, Ant, with the whole, with holes. He bounces outside a lot. And there's a couple other guys on this list as well that after watching film of, I went back to watch more Kyren Williams film and was like, yeah, those are similar things. Those are similar buts, question marks, and concerns that make it so that if you're the San Francisco 49ers, this becomes less and less likely of an option, because you want a guy with great vision. We saw what they were able to do with Elijah Mitchell as a rookie, just from the vision standpoint. And yes, Elijah Mitchell has some speed, but the 4.3 speed we all thought we were going to be seeing, we didn't see a whole lot of it. Definitely was trending more towards being a guy realistically when we were watching film going, this is a guy who's probably 4.4, 4.5-ish in that range, mid 4.4s at the very worst. And, you get him into his pro day last year with no NFL combine because of everything going on with COVID. Oh, he runs a 4.3, and it's like, okay, well, holy crap, this is a speedy dude. And then it doesn't translate. Kyren Hill, though, speed is not the issue. It's like you said, it's vision. That's the big one. It's the big one indeed. Look, I think another guy to talk about here is Pierre Strong. Pierre Strong, the next guy kind of coming up on this list, and does have the speed. And in fact, was he the fastest guy at the combine?
He was the fastest guy at the combine, yeah.
My goodness gracious almighty. And a lot of the things that I've seen from him on film, Ant, make me think that this might be a possibility for the San Francisco 49ers. The only question is going to be where, because when you see speed like that, after we get out about the second or third round, if people see the same sort of potentiality there, they may be willing to reach, especially if someone else isn't on the board. This is a guy that was top 2 or 3 on their board in terms of talent, and we're getting into that middle of the third, late third round, and one of the other guys that is on their list in terms of where they wanted to draft in the spot, if it's not there and running back is an area where they feel they can improve, they may take a chance on a guy like this. What are you thinking about Pierre Strong?
I don't think you see him come off the board before the 4th round. I just don't. I think he's one of those guys that's pretty instinctual. He has a lot of size and speed to go with it, so he's very athletic. He played at a lower level, of competition, but he dominated like he's supposed to, and he's continually produced. I saw some good things from him. I saw a pretty good balance. Sometimes I question the vision, but there are things that he could work on for sure. He could be a one-cut-and-go guy, so he would fit what the 49ers want to do. I don't know if he really did play to that 4.3 level. To me, he was another guy that on film looked like he was 4.4 or higher. So that is something that hasn't translated so much on film. So I'm wondering if he's like just a workout warrior. But I do like him overall. I thought he was a good running back. I like how hard he runs. He runs aggressively and hard. Not as hard as like Pacheco does out of Rutgers. I think he's an absolute harder runner. Both of them pretty much the same speed. They're pretty close, same size, same speed.
Did you think patience at all when you watched his film?
I thought he had good patience. I thought he was a good runner. It wasn't Brian Robinson level of patience.
Correct.
But I thought he did. I thought he knew when to play it out and when to accelerate. You could see the experience there. Those are the reasons I think he could translate into the NFL. But I mean, I don't think that 4.3 speed showed up. It wasn't like he was patient, and then accelerated like a Le'Veon Bell did. So fair. I think there's a little bit of a difference there between him and his size and speed as some of the other guys that do a similar running style.
I like that there, and I agree with you there. I think that the big thing with him is I think he does have top end speed. I don't know if necessarily if it's something in game once pads are on, Ant, that the acceleration is. I think it takes him a little bit to get going in games. Now there could be a handful of reasons for that, but he didn't show it at the combine.
Yeah.
So if he can duplicate that once he gets into the league, then great. I'm not going to have any issues or complaints or problems with this. And he consistently produced at the college level too. So everyone would be like, oh, level of competition. You are correct. Level of competition is definitely a question mark in terms of can he do it against the elite of the elite? But when asked against doing it against the people he was designated to face, he put up 3 1,000+ yard rushing seasons. Mm-hmm. So I like the production out of him. I like what I saw on film. I think there's a lot of positive traits there, but I agree with you. 4th or 5th round, that's about the area. Let's not go any earlier than that. I'd prefer not to.
Which means he's a possibility for the 49ers because I don't, besides there being one of the special running backs, like even Cook, I think him being available earlier, that's a possibility. But everyone else, you're talking 4th, 5th, 6th round for the 49ers to address running back after drafting 2 running backs last year.
Very accurate, Ant. This feels like it's an odd year, right? Because there are some guys there that would make sense for the 49ers. But even late, you just don't know. You don't know if they're going to value. You don't know if they're going to feel that way or if they're going to do what the Cutback crew did last night and just go heavy with the O-line and make sure you shore that bad boy up. It feels like the Niners could address the roster in a lot of ways. But there's a lot of good names as well. So you have to kick the tires on all these guys. You got to really look at all these guys. And Hassan Haskins out of Michigan is another guy that you got to look at and you got to consider. A guy who's kind of a little bit all over the place on boards as well. Some people have him as one of their best running backs coming out of this class and with this group. And there's some people who put him right in the middle of the pack. What do you like about him?
He's a star player for me. Hassan Haskins, 6'1", 223 pounds out of Michigan. I thought he had a good burst, good vision. He played behind a fullback in college, which I like because it's a different style of play.
And it translates to what the 49ers do.
It does. And because when you're not used to playing a running back and following something, that's something you have to develop. And then power. I thought he played with a lot of power. My question mark, of course, was speed. You're always worried about the top end speed, but I didn't think that was something that was going to slow him down. And my comp was Jeff Wilson. So I thought that he had that ability to be able to come in the league and be at least that's the the floor, I thought, at least as good as what Jeff Wilson Jr. has done over the last couple of years. So I really liked him, and I think he could potentially be someone the Niners would target for sure.
I would agree with you on that. Physical runner as well as what I have down here, and doesn't stop his legs. He's really good at lowering his shoulder. He's got determination when he runs. This is not a guy who hesitates at all.
Mm-hmm.
When he feels the hole and he feels his spot open up, he puts his foot in the ground and he goes. I like it. I feel like this guy has the potential to be a workhorse back in the league, and that's the nice thing about the 49ers is you have a guy with workhorse potential that you don't need to be a workhorse, meaning you get the best version of him on every carry that you're getting him out there. I know there's some people who feel like, hey, you know what? Maybe the Niners need to be addressing more speedy guys. You need to try and find a way to replace the Raheem Mostert home run ability. But if the Niners believe that Elijah Mitchell has that capability and has that potentiality, then they may feel that guy is already on the roster, and you may be looking to fill out more roles like a Jeff Wilson Jr. And the Niners bringing back Jeff Wilson Jr. when we thought last year the signings of Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon were the potential replacements for a guy like Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. The fact that you got a guy like Jeff Wilson back, I don't know if it necessarily signals anything about Trey Sermon. I don't believe it does that. But I think right now the Niners believe they don't necessarily have a guy who does the things that Jeff Wilson Jr. does. And maybe a guy like Haskins could replace that down the road.
He could, and we got some stuff. I mean, Lou says, can he put his foot in the ground and go? One cut and go. Yes, he can. He does that very well. He's able to read a fullback's block and then adjust off of that. He sees the numbers, he sees the hips, boom, cuts right off of it. That is something he can do. So he is a scheme fit for what Kyle Shanahan wants. The difference between him and Trey Sermon, where Sermon wasn't, they're trying to develop Trey Sermon into being that. Sterling Holt says Pierre Strong. He really likes Pierre Strong. Pierre Strong would also be somebody that could do that. So I think that this is a guy that I really like more than Pierre Strong. Pierre Strong has the elite speed on display at the combine, but I think Haskins is a better running back overall. And I would go that route if he was available. But I would really like to get him later in this draft. If he was available in the late 4th, 5th round, I think he could be a 5th round selection for the Niners.
That's fair. That's fair, and I like that spot there for him. It doesn't feel early. It doesn't feel like a reach. And like you said, Ant, at the end of the day with this, you have to look at what the 49ers value. And what they value with their running backs is, number one, I think would be ideally speed. But at the end of the day, it's vision, being able to play in the system and play a certain way. And this gentleman played with a fullback, showed great ability to wait out holes, get downhill, and hurry and make nice runs. I think this kind of fits into what San Francisco's looking for at the running back position. It kind of makes sense. It doesn't hurt that he's also a Harbaugh guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's been coached up on how to play, the NFL caliber, NFL style of football.
Do you mean to tell me that Jim Harbaugh, had good running backs when he played in the NFL and at Stanford? And
you mean when he coached?
I mean, yeah, just anytime he
coached. Yeah. I mean, think about the guys who played in his system, Tyler Gaffney and some of these guys.
It's true.
They were good. They really did. And they were all one cut and go guys, more of them built for more of a power scheme. So that's what you always have to ask your question. Are these guys going to be power scheme fits, or are they going to be able to fit in the outside zone style of scheme that Kyle Shanahan wants to run? Haskins, I think, can fit in both. He's not one of those guys that's got the dynamic speed that's going to make you, wonder where the heck he went because he's going to zoom right past you. But he's fast enough to get on the edge and then be able to make the cut when the hole presents itself. So I think he would definitely fit what the Niners want to do.
I agree with you there, Ant. I do agree with you there. And speaking of a guy that a little bit all over the place on boards as well. He's kind of on PFN. They have him ranked at number 193. Kennedy Brooks out of Oklahoma. I've seen him go as late as the 7th round. I've seen him going as early as the 5th round, typically in a lot of the mock drafts that I've seen. Some things that I liked about Brooks. I thought he was very physical. I thought he set up his blocks pretty well. I thought he was fairly patient, but there's no shiftiness. I didn't see a lot of shiftiness out of him. Not explosive speed. In fact, Ant, I have a question mark next to him on speed. Like, there's a speed category, there's a big question mark, and then there's a day 3 question mark, because I could see teams looking at this and being as a late round pick on day 3, like really late in the draft, or feeling like there's traits there that fit in their system with what they want out of a running back.
Yeah, when it came to Kenny Brooks, 5'11", 209 pounds out of Oklahoma, one thing I liked, you're going to hear a common theme from me as we talk about running backs, is he had a forward lean. I like the forward lean from the running back. He had good balance, and he was a tough runner. I thought he got the tough physical yards. But my negatives, elusiveness. So we saw the same thing on film. There wasn't that elusiveness in the open field. He wasn't somebody that was going to make people miss. That's why he's going to fall down the board some. So if you are valuing, the balance and the tough running style, you're going to take him. Then that makes you question, though, is he somebody that the 49ers are going to want because they have a Jeff Wilson Jr., they have Elijah Mitchell already, so he fits in the same mold as them. Are you going to stack the same sort of running back on top of each other? I don't think so. I think you're looking for someone that's a little bit different dynamic-wise, and so that's why he wasn't high on the list, but I think he's a good running back and will be a solid fit for somebody in the NFL.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a scheme fit for him somewhere in the league, and San Francisco might take a look at a guy like that, but I don't know if the shiftiness plays into that at all. The Niners want somebody who can make somebody miss at some point in time, and they have a couple of runners already, and who are a little bit more straight line guys who aren't necessarily the ankle breakers, I guess is the way to put it.
They don't have an ankle breaker.
It's also true.
JaMychal Hasty is probably the most elusive running back they have. Because Elijah Mitchell, he can make a cut, do that sort of thing.
He can make a cut. He's more of an arm tackle guy.
He is. But other than that, they don't really have like a guy that's like elusive in the open field. In fact, Raheem Mostert wasn't really. He just had elite speed.
Straight line.
Jerick McKinnon was supposed to be that guy, and Jerick McKinnon was injured, so he lost his elusiveness. That's not something they normally go for in the Kyle Shanahan system. It's normally one cut, go get upfield. If you can make another guy miss, great, because you're probably going to have a big play. But it's not something they value. They don't want somebody that's going to jump around, bounce around, and look to make cuts in the open field. They want you to keep moving forward, keep moving the sticks. That's what it's about.
It's true, Ant. It's true, but maybe there's a shift. Maybe they want to shift, Ant. Maybe they want to take a different direction with running backs. Maybe they're looking at a guy later in the draft or potentially as an undrafted gentleman, and you brought up a little earlier, Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers. Talk about a guy with some speed, some shiftiness and elusiveness in the open field. Do you think San Francisco could take a look at this gentleman and bring him in?
Yeah, I think so. If you're talking 7th round, undrafted, he would make sense because the things you talked about, Pierre Strong, he has similar traits. He has that speed, that 4.3 speed. He's a big physical runner. The one thing you notice about him as soon as you put on the film is the aggressive style at which he runs. Now, you've seen in the chat, Lou was talking about being able to see the hole. That's one of the issues I have with him. It feels like sometimes he doesn't see the hole. He almost runs with his head down like a bull, just charging. I think that's one of the reasons he's falling down boards. If he had better vision, also if he played for a better team, I think he would have had more opportunities. So I think he's somebody that you would take a chance on in the 7th round. You would love to bring in as an undrafted free agent and see what you could get out of him. If potentially you could help develop and teach him how to read and find the hole, be patient, because there's no real patience right now. Pierre Strong, patience. Pacheco, no patience. I think there's a difference there.
There is. I would agree with you on that there. I think, too, with him, it felt like when I was watching some film, because you were the one who originally brought him up to me.
Yeah.
I had finished my running back kind of evals and taking a look at the guys that I wanted to look at initially. And you said, hey, just take a look at him. Just watch his film, see what you see there. And one of the big things I saw from him, it felt like every play from him, or not every play, but a lot of run opportunities, he was trying to make the big play, the big run. He's trying to do too much. And part of that could have just been the system that he was in or what was asked of him. Hey, we need you have to be the playmaker here.
Yeah.
This is Rutgers football. When was the last time we were not very good? So it could have been just a system thing. It could have been him feeling like this is what my role needs to be with this team. And who knows, maybe better coaching and a better situation puts him at ease and is a fresh start for him in terms of his development as a running back. Good news. He has himself one heck of a running back coach and run game situation in San Francisco. So he's going to get the top notch. And if he ends up sticking around more than a year, and then he gets some Bobby Turner the next year. So there's that.
Well, he's a nice guy to have, too, that you can put on the practice squad, potentially.
Correct.
He can't make your roster. More than likely, you can get him onto your practice squad because you do need to make sure you have depth. Number one, they're not rolling into the season or into the training camp with 4 running backs.
No.
They're going to have at least 6 running backs. So they're going to pick up some guys either in the draft or undrafted free agents. Pacheco is definitely a target for that. When you're 5'10", 213 pounds, you have a nice size speed ratio with the 4.3 speed. So I think he used to be somebody that teams are going to be interested in, bringing in, see what he's got. But yeah, he's definitely a late round guy.
True. I see from Power Fitness, Brooks is a 1-speed runner, lacks any explosive qualities with tight hips. Lou, he needs to have vision to see holes as well, being able to turn it up just as important. I'm seeing here from JLA, he's saying D. Price and S. McCormick. So I'm thinking Devante Price here and Sincere McCormick.
Sincere McCormick, yeah.
Sincere McCormick, that's what JLA is saying?
Is he talking about Price or Pierce? Devante Price?
I think he's Devante Price is who he's asking about.
Devante Price, 6'1", 198 pounds, Florida International. I liked his speed and his leg drive. The one thing about Price compared to some of the other guys is he ran really tall.
Correct.
Like, I mean, that was one of the things. He was a definite upright runner. Jeff Wilson Jr. is an upright runner as well. I think Price takes it to another level. But there's some great things to see there. I mean, he's a very talented runner, very tough runner, very physical. I like those traits about him. I wonder how that upright running style is going to, work for him in the NFL. I didn't see a, dynamic speed either. I thought he got tackled in the open field.
And then he ran a 4.39.
Yeah, I didn't see 4.39 on film. I mean, this makes me think that I thought he was like a 4.5 guy on film. But I love the 4.39. So he's not like a bad runner, but he's definitely a 5th, 6th round guy for me.
No, and look at that was literally on my sheet here, and I'm looking at it right now. Not that explosive in terms of shooting out of a cannon and like getting up to top speed. Not there. And then he ran the 4.39. I was like, well, just throw my evaluation out the window then, right? Because if he runs the 40 at the combine at 4.39, what the heck am I talking about? But
I don't care about combine times.
I know. I'm just joking, right? But the idea here, right, the upright runner is always one that's a concern as a running back. Especially when you're 6'2", you're already a big target. You're giving him everything to hit. That makes you, in theory, at the NFL level, easier to tackle. Now, if he has the speed to go along with the power, Ant, maybe he's the exception to the rule at the running back spot. And if so, Ant, if you're drafting this guy in the 6th and 7th round, you're getting a steal at that spot if he ends up being that type of guy. But that's part of the reason why this is a risk, right? Because teams are looking at the way he runs, all of those types of things, and they go, okay, well, there's a lot of things that we do like about him. However, there's a lot of potential negatives that could prevent him from elevating to what we think his potential could be, and that's why he falls down boards to where he's at right now. But there are a lot of big traits to like about this guy. Yes, he's got size, and sometimes people like smaller running backs because they get lost behind the line of scrimmage, but this guy's patient. He's got good feel running in between the tackles, and when you have those types of things, it's like, all right, well, you can sacrifice some things in some other areas. Be a very interesting one indeed, and definitely still a possibility for San Francisco.
Yeah. And there's a guy I want to talk about, because he is slowly falling on some mock drafts. I mean, PFN has him all the way into the 400s now as a recruit. And JL is going to know about this guy as well. That's Zaquandry White out of South Carolina. I really like this guy a lot. He ran a 4.5 at the combine. His vertical jump, though, 43-inch vertical. Crazy shuttle at 4.24, power throw at 37. So
where's he from?
What do you mean? Where's he from?
What school does he go to?
South Carolina.
Oh, a school the Niners have consistently drafted.
He's a Gamecock, but he used to be somewhere else.
It's true, he was somewhere else
in the ACC.
Yeah,
I wonder where that was.
I wonder. Yeah. There's a good chance it was a school we're familiar with. Maybe you're familiar with.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder. Stunned and
right. But he is fun to watch on film. The guy runs with such an aggressive running style. He's a big bruiser, great physical body. And I like what he does. I like his pass catching. I like his ability. I don't know how much Zaquandry White you've watched, but this is somebody that I'm high on. And I'm high on him. Like, I want to see him like get drafted in the 4th or 5th round. That's how high I am on him.
Oh my!
I don't think he's what they're saying he is. If he goes undrafted, I'm already waiting on his doorstep to sign him. Like, that's just how it is.
So on my sheet, Ant, so my initial running back sheet, I tab the tab green when I'm done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I find somebody or find some guys, I make it a light red as like hey, alert, you need to go back and look. So Quandary is one of the guys that's still on my list of guys to break down further. But here is the first bit of notes I have on him. Incredibly difficult to bring down one-on-one in space, and then he's highlighted green. So I watched a little bit of film, got that from him there, and was like, this is a guy that I already love. Let's make sure we watch more of him. So I'm looking forward to dive even further into this because he is falling down a lot of mock draft boards. And I do see a couple places, though, that still have him fairly high. I know, I think it's draftbuzz.com. If you guys ever look at draftbuzz.com, I think you have them in like the 5th or 6th round. So they don't have him necessarily sliding as far as like 7th or later, or in PFN's case, into the 300-400s, which is a little crazy because I don't get 300 or 400 vibes when I watch film.
I don't either. It's one of those wild things. But there's lots of running backs that I watch that I'm like, what are they thinking about? And Sterling Holt says White is the man. Plus, he's not a small back. Yeah, I like that. I do like the big physical bruising back. Catches the ball well in the backfield for a big guy as well. And I've seen most of the breakdowns from some of because I wanted to see why he was falling. And most of the breakdowns were saying he wasn't elusive. That's not what I seen on film. I seen a guy that can make people miss and was a tough runner against some of the better football teams that he played against. So, I mean, yeah, he's somebody I'm interested in for sure. If I'm the 49ers, I'd be interested in him. I think he's a scheme fit, and I think there's some cool things that Kyle Shanahan can figure out how to do with that big body and ability to catch the ball, and even when he lined up in the slot.
That's very true, and he does have that ability there, and I'm looking forward to watching even more film on him, because this is a guy, when I stumbled across it, was kind of like, okay, wait, why wasn't this guy on my initial radar, and where is he going in drafts? Because I was like, this guy is special. And when I saw 5th, 6th, 7th round, I was like, oh, okay, well, he has to go on the list, because this just makes sense. This feels like something San Francisco is going to be doing. It feels like this would be a guy that they targeted. And speaking of a guy that the Cutback crew targeted, Ty Chandler out of North Carolina is one that has kind of risen and fallen a little bit on some boards. Some places are very high on Mr. Chandler. Some places not as high on Mr. Chandler. This guy originally started off at the University of Tennessee and ends up transferring in, enters the transfer portal, lands at UNC after both of their running backs have huge years. Both guys get drafted in very good spots, and then put together a fairly decent season. I've seen him as low as undrafted free agent on some boards. I see him going as high as the 6th round in some places as well. Have you watched enough of Ty Chandler? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like him, and I thought that his speed shows up on film.
It does.
I thought he was super fast and just another pretty good running back to come out of North Carolina. So he would be somebody, I know when the TCC drafted him last night in the mock draft, that didn't surprise me at all. He fit kind of what you would expect from the 49ers in that spot to get a third down back, somebody that could come and compete with Michael Hasty, potentially overtake him for that role. And because he's going to be available late, he makes a lot of sense for what the 49ers want to do. But I see a little bit of a change of pace guy, because he's got that speed. Potentially he could come in and do some things for you on third down, not only in the receiving game, but also get some of those clutch carries on the outside zone.
Yeah, I mean, outside zone is where his bread and butter is, and that's where he had a lot of success.
Yeah.
He does do a fairly decent job of running in between tackles, and he's got good patience. I don't dislike or think that he's an impatient runner by any means. There's a little time he gets a little ahead of himself, and I've seen him, overrun some spots or run into some guys out in space. But I like Tyson Chandler a lot, and he's actually growing on me more and more the more film that I watch of him. Watching him at Tennessee as well. Tennessee Vols fans very upset that he put together the season that he did at North Carolina. Where was this when he was here? He was sharing the backfield with a lot of different guys and not necessarily being a feature back.
It's also a change from the SEC to the ACC.
That's true.
You're going against different defenses. You're going against different caliber players. And also just the style of offense that they run at these schools is a little bit different. So, yeah, his numbers are going to elevate a little bit when he has more opportunity. But also there's some of the games where he's playing lesser talent. The ACC has top-level teams. But then they have, the middle of the ground is not as good as the SEC. So when you get to play those teams, your numbers get elevated.
It's very true, Ant. It's very true indeed. And I just saw from Maurice here, we're going to miss Bobby Turner this year in scouting. From my understanding, Kyle made it seem as if Bobby Turner was going to be giving him a call about running backs that he really, really liked and was keeping an eye on the draft this year. So it sounds like he's going to have some sort of input on what they're doing at the running back position, or at least who they're looking at. He's just not going to be necessarily on the field coaching.
Yeah, when it comes to Bobby Turner, some of it he couldn't be as involved. He had this surgery once before, and I think it was 2014, and he got right back into it, and that's why he's having some more trouble that he's having right now. So he is going to be in a limited role. So I don't know how much of the scouting he's going to do. He used to call and text every single player that was in the draft process almost. It seemed like he was kept constant contact with them, especially the ones he was interested in. Every day he would contact them. So they're not going to get that from him this year. But I'm sure he could sit back and watch some film if he felt like it and really break down these guys. Plus, the good thing is we do have a guy that played for him that understands what he's looking for in a running back as well.
Accurate, Ant. Look, I think at the end of the day, not having Bobby Turner on the practice field is going to be where the biggest impact is.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is a guy who wants to step away. I think he's doing it for his longevity so he can be around longer than already. I think the reality is what you have with Bobby Turner right now is he's going to be doing stuff to help them locate and target guys they want that he can eventually work with down the road. He's just not going to be there to mold them this year. That's going to be at the behest of Lynn and and Forrester, your running back, your low line and running backs guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Lynn is going to be taking over and running this thing. Part of the reason that makes a lot of sense to have the running backs come back, to bring back Jeff Wilson Jr., is because Bobby Turner's already worked with these guys.
Accurate.
But I am curious about the development of Trey Sermon. under Anthony Lynn, with Bobby Turner taking the year off. We'll see what happens there. We'll see if Bobby Turner was able to get this guy from being what he was a press the line jump cut guy to a foot in the ground and go guy. If he gets him to that point, then Trey Sermon could be a good running back in the system, especially running between the tackles, where they need those big, tough physical runs, and then occasionally have the ability to stretch it outside with these outside zone plays. Also, Trey Sermon potentially, if he could get his vision down, he could also be impactful in the gap scheme. So we'll see. But there's definitely some changes in the running back room and also changes with the run game coordinator. So we'll see if Chris Forster is going to put his own spin on this run game and how much Kyle Shanahan gets hands-on with it now that Mike McDaniel's gone.
That's very accurate, and it's gonna change some things up, right? It may change how we run the football in terms of the scheme and the things we want to do. But yeah, you're right. Kyle is either going to be more involved or they're going to turn this thing over to Forster and to Lynn and say, hey, you guys handle it.
Well, Anthony Lynn is very good at run game, and Chris Forster's been an offensive coordinator with Miami.
Sure.
Chris Forster's well respected around the league. He's well traveled. He understands how to run the football in this league. You put Lynn with him with Kyle Shanahan. That's three really good minds. I think Shanahan will be focus more on the pass game again, and he's got some guys that he's training up in that department. So I think it's going to be nice, but it's going to be different.
That's for sure. It is going to be a little bit different this year. Donald Johnson asked too, do you think the Niners will give Gore a job when he retires?
Yeah, Jed York basically already said he would love to have Frank Gore as a part of this front office. In what area and avenue that will be, that's another question. But I do believe that they will try to bring Frank Gore into this organization in some capacity. That's what they wanted to do with Joe Staley as well. So there'll be opportunities for Frank Gore to be a part of the 49ers because everyone understands what his impact was for this team and how respected he is around the area and the organization.
Very accurate, Ant. Very accurate indeed. Are there any other running backs that you specifically want to go to before we turn this thing over to the TCC?
Well, I mean, no, there's some that are going to be undrafted guys that I'll say for the gyms.
Oh, okay.
Because there are some really good running backs late in this draft that have potential to maybe sneak up on people. Kind of Elijah Mitchell style guys, as far as I'm talking late round guys that could potentially turn into something great, but we don't need to get into all those right now because you could be going forever with those potential guys.
We could be doing this for a while, Ant, because listen, I think a majority of the time that you and I have both spent have been on guys who are going to be going later in this draft, potentially undrafted guys. And when I saw how deep you had gone down into the list, felt like I had done a disservice because a couple of the guys that you hit on and that you've talked about, and you teased one of them last night during the fan-controlled mock draft in Zamias, pretty far down the list.
Yeah, I've went pretty deep. I started scrolling through a bunch of guys. Yeah, I've went about. I mean, some of these guys are ranked 800 in the draft, and I've already watched film on them. One guy I had to find practice film. There is no game film of him.
That was Jemias, right?
No, there's another guy.
Oh, that was the other gentleman.
Yeah, the other guy. He actually went to the HBCU combine.
Yes.
So, yeah. And speaking of combines, the Niners are having their local combine or pro day. Was that April 13th, I believe 13th, it is.
I think you're
so
right.
They're going to be having that. Anyone that's been around, played in this area, or is from this area can go to open workout for the 49ers.
That's true. It's very true. JLA asked, who is our quarterback DB coach? Did they make a change this offseason?
No, they kept the same coaches there, but they did bring in Sorensen.
Correct.
Sorensen used to be with the Seattle Seahawks, well respected by that secondary. In fact, when he was hired by the 49ers, the entire secondary for the Seahawks went crazy, giving respect, talking about how great of a hire it was for the 49ers. So they made that sort of move as they had one coach move on. They moved a player into this coach into the special assistant role. So I'm sure he's going to have his hands on and fingers on that entire secondary. I thought that was a solid move. And I think Sorensen's somebody to watch eventually. I know everyone's been talking about other options, but I think he could be somebody that potentially takes over for DeMeco Ryans if he leaves. And I know everyone's been going Fangio, but I think Sorensen's somebody that I would be on the lookout for.
Fair. That's very fair, Ant. Definitely a name to be keeping an eye on. It's definitely your dark horse at this point to become the eventual D coordinator. JLA asked, Iowa's Tyler Goodson. Have you watched any film?
Ooh, I did. I don't know if I put it on my notes though. I did watch some of Iowa's Tyler Goodson. I don't think I wrote it down. I think I just watched him.
Okay.
Because I have like Tyler Beatty and a bunch of guys. But yeah, I thought he was a good one. But I don't have it in my notes, so I'm not going to sit here and just go through everything. But he was good enough to be somebody that's on my radar.
Correct.
So I'll go back and watch a little bit more film of him, and then I'll relay that information to JLE, or I'll put it in the gym episode, whatever. But yeah, I did watch some of that film.
I've watched a little.
Yeah.
My notes here, the strengths that I saw, runs through arm tackles and not afraid of contact. So there's those two things right there, JLE. And once we get closer to that Gems episode, maybe, who knows, maybe this will be a featured gentleman in it, Tyler Goodson out of Iowa. I'm very late. How's it going, TCC? Said, Shooter, it is going well, my guy. And no worries. You can always rewind and rewatch what we've been talking about with these running backs and these options. 49ers Fogies and Gary coming through with the Connor Hayward. PFN does have him as running back. Connor Hayward. This is technically an episode that he could be discussed and talked about, but is Connor Hayward a running back?
No, I think he's a fullback, potentially.
Correct.
Fullback, H-back, tight end kind of guy, versatile in that area. So I think in that nature, we could talk about him. And potentially, I mean, we've been running with two different fullbacks. We've had Josh Hockett as well.
Correct.
From Fresno State, that's been with the team for 2 years now, primarily on the practice squad. In fact, entirely on the practice squad.
It's true.
But I think that you could potentially bring in someone like Hayward if you thought he had the versatility to play fullback and tight end. Then maybe you could use him in that manner. I don't think he's a straight running back. He doesn't have the speed for that. But he's an interesting prospect for sure, because if you're only limited by the creativity you have as far as using him, and he is one of those guys that gets after. He's very physical, and he doesn't mind contact with the ball in his hands, so he's a fun player to watch.
Not an unfun player to watch, Ant. Ole Miss's Jay Ely or Tyler Batty. He's making us choose, Ant.
I'll go with Tyler Beatty because I've already watched him. Tyler Beatty, 5'7", 199 pounds. He's a short guy. Out of Mizzou. The thing I really liked was his physicality. I thought he was very physical when I watched the film. I worried about his lower half flexibility, his footwork, and his decisiveness.
Fair.
Those were things I was concerned about. He did not get a star from me, of course. And on my list, I watched him after I watched James Cook. So that kind of gives you an idea of where I was thinking about him. But I think he's a late round undrafted guy.
You're talking about Beatty, correct? Yeah, I mean, look, I thought he caught well in the backfield. I thought he had some pass pro concerns as well, and he kind of projects in as a third down type back. And if you got some pass pro concerns for a third down back in situations where you may be asked pass pro, we got some issues, we got some problems. There were some positive things. I did think there was some explosiveness at times. I thought he broke arm tackles at times as well. But this was not someone that I was looking at going, this makes sense for San Francisco, because like you and I said, right, if you're going to bring this guy in, he's got to immediately he's got to be able to compete and upgrade the room.
Right.
That's what it feels like with a lot of these draft picks. The Niners don't have they have 9 picks, but you're not going to be able to keep 9 guys. So if you draft 9 players, all 9 of them better be able to make the roster. Otherwise, you're wasting draft picks on guys who are either going to get put on the practice squad or get claimed by the rosters.
More than likely, they're going to end up playing for another team. And,
correct.
Because this has been brought up before, Alex, we should probably talk about Max Borghi.
Okay.
5'9", 207 out of Washington State. I thought we'd cover him. I thought he had good acceleration. He played fearless, and he had good balance.
Correct.
The negativities about him, the lower body flexibility is not there at all. His elusiveness, to me, there's not very much elusiveness because there's no flexibility in his hips. So he kind of almost has to change direction by just turning his entire body. And then I questions a little bit of his athleticism. So even though he's a straight ahead fast guy, there wasn't a lot of athleticism that make you think he could make somebody miss or any of that. So I was very, very lukewarm about Borg.
Look, I have deceptively quick and great straight line runner for the positives.
Yeah.
After that, vision, running between the tackles, indecisive. And like you said, shiftiness. It doesn't feel like it's there. It doesn't feel like the explosiveness to change directions is there. Funny enough, Ant, I watched Max Borghi film right before I ended up watching my favorite running back that's going to be coming out next year in the draft. So was going through a list of guys, saw Max Borghi film, was like, not feeling great, and then watched the guy who is right now my number 1 running back for the 2023 draft, and was like, and now I know why I felt the way I did about you, because you're not this.
Who's your number 1 running back for 2023?
We'll save that for 2023. And we'll save that for the 2023.
I have one too already.
I figured you might.
Yeah.
I figured you might.
I have a number 1 wide receiver and I have a number 1 running back.
I have a number 1 wide receiver and I have a number 1 running back as well. But that's it.
Is your number 1 running back transferring?
Yes.
Okay, we might have the same running back.
Daddy, let's go, my guy.
So we might actually have the same wide receiver and same running back.
There's a good chance. That'd be crazy.
Interesting. Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, let's say Ely did return kicks, and his vision was pretty good, say Jay Ellie. I haven't watched a lot of Ely.
I did watch Ely a little bit. I did not break him down, so I don't have a full breakdown. But because I've watched film of like Dontero Drummond and some of those guys on that team, I have seen him play, but I need to go and have a focus on him. So he's one of those guys that, yeah, he has some ability, but I can't give you a really good breakdown. So we'll have to trust Jay Ellie on this one, and then eventually I can get to him. But yeah, I kind of went into a rabbit hole of running backs that are like way far in the draft that I was starting to like. And once I got in that rabbit hole, I just stayed there.
So here's what I can say, Jay Ellie. You said Ole Miss Jay Ely over T. Batty. From what I've seen from T. Batty, if you think Jay Ely is a better version, then most likely I'd be leaning towards Jay Ely.
Oh no, Jay Ellie's right. Yeah. This is true. He's better than T. Batty.
Oh, there you go. Then.
For sure.
I love how we just called him T. Batty.
Well, that's what he was saying on the comments.
True.
Yeah.
It's true, and
yeah.
I saw a couple people talk about Josh Norman being out, and I don't know how we got to cornerbacks in chat, but chat somehow found its way to cornerbacks. It's probably Mr. Corey.
There's inevitabilities in chat. Number one, Christian Watson will get mentioned.
It's true.
Number two, this is going to happen. We're going to get some cornerback talk. I mean, those are just things. The only thing I haven't seen yet is interior offensive line, which usually we get to.
That's usually at some point, right? It's usually at some point. Christian Watson, though, almost always.
Oh, and Stephon Gilmore has been mentioned.
Stephon Gilmore also drives Mr. Corey up a wall.
Yeah.
It drives him up an absolute wall.
I love it.
JLA, back end running back. So there's going to be plenty of those. And when we get to that gem episode in which we're talking about those back end running backs, you're not going to want to miss it. Because there are some names that there's no way you've actually watched or seen the film. Because I know for a fact on a few of them, Ant, you have had to literally get practice film in order to watch said player, and then sent me said practice film, and I was like, how did you find this? Because then I spent like an hour and a half trying to find said film, couldn't find it. And then number two, how is nobody talking about this? How does nobody else know? It's crazy.
Yeah, I think sometimes people it's eye of beholder stuff, and sometimes there's circumstances, right, that prevent you from seeing a player that maybe it's been under the radar. And the particular player you're talking about played for like 3 or 4 different teams. So
accurate. He did bounce around a lot. And the $4.99 super chat there from Jess. Listen, Linda, love watching your guys' live streams. Meg and Jess. So
listen, Linda.
Linda, listen.
Yeah.
They need to listen, and we need to apparently listen, Ant. So
there you go.
We're listening now. Y'all were talking about DB coaches. That's how that bum Norman came up.
Well, there you go.
There you go for Mr. Corey.
Hey, that's a solid transition then.
Solid transition, Ant. Solid transition indeed. Look, running backs is a deep group. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of possibilities. The reality is, though, with the Niners, you're most likely going late. You're not going to be going early. You're most likely not going to see anything before round 3. I would agree with you on that. I know you had said that earlier in the show. It does feel that way. It does feel like round 3 is too early for San Francisco. You drafted 2 last year. You still have one of those guys on your roster who produced heavily in Elijah Mitchell that's going to potentially, if not expand his role, at least be RB1 going into this season. You don't know necessarily what you have in Trey Sermon. So if you are the San Francisco 49ers, you'd like to build out the room, but you'd like to do it late.
Yeah, I think if James Cook at 105 would make sense. I think
agreed.
That's the first potential time.
Who is the guy that you think is the most likely right now? If you had to try and take a guess or a stab in the dark at this, is it James Cook at 105? Is that the most likely guy that they draft?
Yeah, I think if it's in the right spot, then he could potentially, because I think they would like to upgrade at the third down back. Right now, JaMychal Hasty's solid. He's elusive, catch the ball in the backfield, but you haven't seen him really take off in that role. He's not a guy that can convert on third and short. No. So then you have questions about whether you should just roll with Elijah Mitchell as a third down back. So potentially that would make sense if you're going there, because I think you could develop into a 3-down back. If one of these other guys was available, maybe. But yeah, I mean, to me, he's the one that stands out amongst the rest in this draft as far as 49er fit and what they're looking for. And then after that is kind of some late guys that you're hoping could develop into something eventually.
Here's a question for you in the TCC: Brian Robinson or Cook at 105?
I would probably go Cook.
Okay.
To me, he's a better pass catcher. I think he fits the third down role right now. The way you have Elijah Mitchell, Robinson would be another Elijah Mitchell type player.
True.
Just with lesser speed, he's a step slower.
Accurate.
So you would be rolling with 2 different guys. With Jeff Wilson Jr., if Jeff Wilson Jr. was gone, we'd be having a different conversation, because I think Brian Robinson would fit. That would be a nice 1-2 punch between those two. And that's just not even talking about Trey Sermon and his potential development. So yeah, Cook adds something different, and I'm about adding different things to your room and repertoire so you can use different players in different ways. I think he would do that.
I don't disagree with you there. Cook is a very different running back than what we have, and Mr. Sweden just said, anyways, Hasty's got bad hands. So yeah, let's upgrade. Let's upgrade the third down back rule.
Yeah, and JaMychal Hasty is not smooth like James Cook. I mean, James Cook is another size of smooth, and he's bigger. He's bigger and faster than JaMychal Hasty, so you got that going for him.
You got that going for him, indeed, and indeed. Look, Cutback Crew, if there's any other names of guys that you want us to talk about really quick, or let you know if we've broken them down or not, or names to just put on our radar, leave them in the comment section right now. Hit those comments in there so we can see them, and then don't forget to like the video if you haven't already, and subscribe if you have not subscribed. If you're watching on Facebook, give the page a follow. If you're watching on Twitch, become a follower over there. Answer if you're just watching on Twitter. Hit that follow button, hit that notification bell, so you don't miss any of the content that we got going on. And if you're listening to this after the fact on our traditional podcast platforms, give us that nice 5-star rating. You've been waiting this long. You're all the way into this video this deep. You might as well just hit that 5-star rating and tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to hear from everyone that listens and watches on every single platform that's available.
True.
Get some real feedback. It's fun, and join the conversation. Leave comments on our social medias. Go check out the social medias. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, Alex is really excited that he has now debuted on TikTok. So if you like TikTok, you can go check out Alex on TikTok.
Why would you lie? Why would you lie about that?
I seen you literally jump and click your heels.
I did jump and click my heels because I was trying to prove a point that I was more athletic.
Well, you proved...
Not that I was excited.
There you go.
No, that's not what you think.
Perception's reality.
No. Oh, no, Ant. We're on TikTok. Jay Ellis just said, did we go over the Gators running back?
Oh.
I'm assuming he means Damian Pierce?
We did not.
At University of Florida?
Well, we could do that.
I mean, we could.
Damian Pierce, 5'9", 220 pounds out of Florida. Good acceleration, good pass catcher.
It's true.
Patient, and physical.
Absolutely.
Speed problems.
Yes.
And also open field awareness and elusiveness, I thought were problems. I literally wrote down very poor man's Frank Gore.
You know what? That's a very fair analysis, Ant. I try to stay away from the comparisons because I feel like I'm going to miss something on those, but that is pretty gosh darn accurate. My concerns were speed, open field vision, and then I felt like he was a gap scheme type runner. Is what it felt like his success was. So, hey, Niners had run some gap scheme. That does translate. The contacts balance felt like it was there, but it's not one of those things with him where I didn't feel like he added anything different to the room than what we kind of guys and pieces that we already have. And if you're the 49ers, you want to diversify that room. You don't want to, control C, control V, copy, paste everybody over and do the same thing.
If Trey Sermon's not developing, if you don't think Trey Sermon's going to be that guy, then this would be an option. Correct. Because you're right, the gap scheme style, he would be very good fitting in that, and he does run well behind like pulling linemen,
correct,
and that sort of thing. So he makes sense in that area. I did like his film. It's not like I don't like him. I did like him. I just was trying to equate a running style to him, and it felt Frank Gore-ish, but in no way is he Frank Gore. If that, Frank Gore is like, up here, and he's got a long way to go, but he has that balance and that, little quick little slither that he gets through the hole. Frank Gore is really good about going into a little tiny hole and coming out the other side, and I think the same thing about this guy.
Correct, and a guy who does very similar things in terms of fitting through tiny holes is Elijah Mitchell. The difference is there's explosivity with Elijah Mitchell. Once he gets through said tiny hole, he explodes out. Guys like Pierce and guys like Frank don't necessarily do that.
No, and Pierce and same with Frank is they're one speed the whole time. Where you get like Elijah Mitchell, he can start and stop. The change of speed is there. And Mr. Corey said James Cook looks a little similar to Mitchell. There are things that are similar, but Elijah Mitchell, even though he's a great running back, is not as smooth as James Cook in the open field or as smooth catching the football. Like, this guy's head doesn't move when he's out there running routes. He has a quiet head. He has a quiet upper body catching the football. Everything about him just screams smoothness. That's why I like him so much, and I think that's why I would target him, because I think he is an elite third down back in this league that could potentially play all three eventually once he develops his run game, his vision, and the style playing behind the offensive line in the Kyle Shanahan scheme.
You are not wrong there, my guy. You are not wrong there, my guy. It's going to be very, very interesting. Look, Cutback Crew, it's a fun conversation. A lot of running backs that we went through, a lot of possibilities and potential for the San Francisco 49ers. Real question just is going to be, Ant, where did they decide to go? what round do they decide to actually pull the trigger and go after a guy? Do they even want to do that? Are they just going to go fully undrafted? And if that's the case, they're going to want to make sure they're subscribed. They're going to want to make sure they have their notifications turned on, because when we do our Gems episode, that's where those guys potentially could be discussed and talked about, and it'll give you a better idea of who those undrafted or late round gems are in the NFL draft that the 49ers could be hitting on and continuing their trend, continuing their trend of being a team that drafts extremely well later in the draft and does an even better job of finding those non-drafted players that could be on your roster for a long time.
Yeah, we'll see if John Chapman and Jason Aponte recognize those gems in tomorrow's War Room.
It's true.
Because I know we're all going to be having the conversation, and they're going to have to make a decision on who we draft. The ultimate decision will be theirs, but it's going to be a fun conversation. I'm looking forward to it. A little bird's eye view of what could happen in the 49ers War Room, and we're going to get after it.
True. 49ers War Room tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You're welcome, East Coast people. I'll let you know exactly what it is and what time it's going to be at. You're not going to want to miss that. You, chat, will decide who's the general manager. The general manager will have final say, and we're going to make the case for each guy that we want on the San Francisco 49ers. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a fun conversation with some different perspectives and viewpoints, Ant. Looking forward to it. We'll catch you all then, and Ant, about that time.
Yeah, let's chalk another one up.
Catch you later, TCC. If I can get this thing off. Thank you so much.